Whoops. Apparently it's my first day driving. You'd think I'd know how to park by now since I own a few of these, but this is the car in question today. A 2007 Lincoln Town Car. So to begin this job, you're going to be using quite a few sockets, grab some various power tools if you have them available. You're going to be doing a lot of pulling and removing of fasteners all throughout the interior here to get this dash out. You can already see the rubber's cracking away there. So at this point, you have pretty much removed everything from the floorboard that you're going to be working around. Typically at this point, since I do have to get the dash out, you can leave your e-brake on, so you don't need to worry about that. But you will need to take this panel off here, which is held in with one little clip right here. And you'll want to take off this panel here. So there's a 7mm there. Pop this panel down. We'll have a crash reinforcement bracket because I typically just drop the column down. I do not. There is a method where you can take this whole column out with it. Personally, since the steering column does not lock, my concern is always that the steering wheel will spin and I don't want to damage the clock spring. If I'm disconnecting it from the shaft and you take it out and let it do its thing, yeah, maybe that helps you, but at the same time you run the risk of turning the wheel, and it doesn't matter. I try to get rid of some of that risk. So once we get the panel out, we'll continue on here in just a moment. So now at this point, we're going to go down here. There's one 7mm fastener up in here. I have my ratchet. I cannot find where I last conveniently set down my impact driver. And that's the 1/4" drive one, not the 3/8. Didn't feel like getting an adapter. It's not that big a deal. So we'll get this out. There's your one fastener. And pull that down. So on the 05 to 11 models here, it doesn't matter if it's a Crown Vic or a Grand Marquis or even a town car, when they updated the steering column, they got rid of one of the bolts and replaced it with a fastener, leaving you with just one bolt for your e-brake release. So these panels on the older models were very, very brittle when they got older. There's a bunch of retainer clips, which I'll show you here in a minute, that are very easy to they break off. But this one, usually on these, I haven't had issues with them yet. This is my first car from Florida of a newer vintage. As you can see, I'm just putting my hands in slots here that kind of fits in and just pull it down. And you'll get stuff happening like this. Pops off there. And again, this bottom one here is a retainer clip. In the past, I've been able to get around not having to use a tool, to use kind of hands like that. So one of these clips. And again, what I ended up doing was just putting my hand behind it on each side so I had even force and just kind of worked it back. Yes, you could get a little cat claw and get behind this, but sometimes then you start breaking up the plastic. Anyways, it's off. So now all we're left with is a number of 8mm fasteners that hold on this crash bracket, which is supposed to help you in an accident. So I'm going to go acquire an 8mm and we'll buzz those out. Using my impact driver, go ahead and get in on some of these. Make a lot of noise. Drop it to the ground. And I'll show you a trick in a moment. 3. There's a 4th one up here. We'll come back to it. There we go. Alright, so when you're taking this panel off, I just wanted to make note that the bottom here is actually slotted. So if you wanted to, you could leave the bottom 2 in and just kind of angle this in, like walking it in like a couch into your house. Top 3 are not angled. They are just mildly, I don't know what to describe it, oblong. So this panel will go right out, no problem. And now we're on to the steering column. So for our next step, we have some actual fasteners to remove on the steering column, because what we're going to do is disconnect this harness here and the shifter cable, as well as the automatic parking brake release vacuum lines. So to do that, you are going to need a 7/32 inch socket, and we're going to go attack the 3 fasteners on the bottom of the column here. Apparently I forgot important detail. I need an extension for it. So these steering column shrouds, I think, are actually easier, there goes that one, are easier to remove than the older ones. The column that Ford used for, gosh, almost from 1990 through sometime in the mid-2000s, I forget the exact year, across their whole lineup. I know on the so-called Panther platform that we're working on here, that was used at least through 2000 and, gosh, was it 4? That's right, 4. So what I end up doing is I pry this shroud bezel that goes around the shifter area, and it pops out if you give it enough finesse. So you can see here it's loose, just working it around the plastic. You're not going to break anything. And I move it up out of the way, because now, with some mild persuasion, it should come free. There we go. And then work it off of the tilt handle, which you do not need to remove. There you go. You can also see some of the retainer tabs. So there's that. And this upper one will also comes right off. Now you have a very serviceable steering column, which is going to come up top. You're going to find a way to gain some more light so people can actually see what you're talking about here. You have a variety of connectors around the top here. They all connect down to one harness, so you can see down on the turn signal there's a gray one right there. There's this one I just popped off. There's another one. You just want to go around, pull all the disconnects off. That's the first job. So I can do this with low light, not a problem. Pop the connector out. Watch your fingers, because there's some sharp edges in here. And just start popping things off. We have now disconnected our connectors, and again, it's just follow the harness. This is the main harness that you can see right here. This is the main harness that goes to the column. You can see that there's a variety of connectors, like there's one right back there that needs to be disconnected. And right here, that's just out of visibility of the camera, of course. one pin, and there you go, there's another one. But there's a couple of wiring clips that should be used you would use a cat claw on, especially if you don't put your camera lens on them. There's a cat claw that you want to use right there. Pop the retainer through so you don't rip the insulation stuff. And you'll have another one, I believe, back over here somewhere. Oh yeah, there's one right out of range here. It's right here that you'll want to pop through. So using your cat claw, pop those two, and that way the harness is free of the column. Again, it's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electrical connectors. Your next thing to do is going to be to disconnect the shifter indicator, which you should be able to see right here. There's a string. All I would do is just work it off. It's there's a peg, alignment peg. Sometimes if that is not going to work, if I remember correctly, you cannot do, because these have an electronic actuated. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now remember, like I was unthreading the shifter cable there, which is just a thumb screw, which I'll show you here in a second. This is what aligns the cable to what is indicated on your transmission. So once you get those aligned, you can make your final adjustments for centering based upon that peg, that cogwheel. That threaded insert that you see hanging out right now next to the plastic, that wheel rotates inside of there, right in there, and that wire threads through it. That's part of the instrument cluster, which means it's part of the dash. So when you're taking the dash out, you don't want to have that fall off, rip off, because if you forget this, right there, you're going to snap it and then your shifter indicator is going to be off. Now, our next step underneath is this shifter cable, which is right here. Now, this is pretty easy to normally just pop off here, which all you would need is a flat blade screwdriver. And once you pop that off, you have two clips right here that have little pins that slot through. All you need to do is pull these back, pop the cable through, and that is it, because this controls the gears you're in. So you can see here. So we got to pop this off and pop that off next. So let's do that. Alright, so now we'll go ahead, pop this shifter cable off, like that. Do not move this, especially if you're not on flat ground, otherwise you are going to go for a ride. A ride you will never forget. Take off this vacuum line here, which may be easier said than done. These are under the hood of any car. Everybody knows that works on cars. These plastic lines, they dry up very quickly under the hood and will crack the moment you breathe on them. Luckily in a car they don't do that as quickly, but they will do that. So this is where you need both hands. Just twist these unions and pop them apart. Twist these unions and pop them apart. So as you can see here, we now have our shifter cable off. I apologize I didn't record this, but I just pulled these tabs back. What I usually do, I work the first tab off first, pull the cable up, that way it hangs on the little nub sticking off. Then I get behind this one here and pull this back just a bit while putting a little pressure behind, and it pops right off, no problem. So now your shifter mechanism is free and removed, so the column can come down. We have all of our cables off here. I've disconnected the vacuum line here and over here. So our next step is going to be to remove that 13 millimeter, that 13 millimeter, that 13, and that 13. Not that there's going to be a whole lot to see, but we will still include ya. Only the best in Harbor Freight. And last but not least is this one right here. Steering column is going to come down on you, so make sure you have everything out of the way that you don't want around it. And if you have any concerns about the leather, wrapping, the wood, whatever it may be, go ahead and put a moving quilt or something around it so you can protect it. Alright, so now with our cables disconnected, make sure you walk it by on that side, walk it down there, cable. I already forgot something, crap. Forgot this retainer clip. Yeah. Wonder if I can pop that free. Make sure you pop that out. And now, this should be able to drop down like so. Now, steering column is dropped on the ground. It's resting on the carpet, and your harness is out of the way. Nothing is pulling anywhere. And the best part is, since this part here is free, even if it does turn, it doesn't matter, because in one way the shifter will hit it, and the other way the turn signal will hit it. So there's no way to lose your position. So now that the harness is off of it, the vacuum lines are free, you can start working on the next steps. What I typically do, I take these A-pillar covers off, and I take off the center dash vent. There's a number of 7 millimeter screws that are behind it. After you get all of those off, down here you have a fastener. Where did it go? There's one right up in here, which is going to be tough to see. Take my word for it, there's a 15 there, a 15 there. You have some more 13s over here on this brace as well, including behind the flap. Over on the other side, which I'll show you. So on the other side here, you can maybe see it in there. There's a fastener right there. There's a fastener right, where is it? There. So there's two there, bunch along the top, two 15s over there, some 13s there. That is all that's holding your dashboard in. Now, that doesn't mean we're done with that, because there's still over on this side Over on this side, we still have the, I don't know what you call this panel here. There's a purpose, I'm sure, for it, but either way, you have this panel you'll want to take off, which has a bunch of clips on it. Matter of fact, we'll go ahead and take those off now while I'm thinking about it. Just regular retainer clips. Yep, right there. Just get behind them. Watch what you're pressing against when you're doing this. You want to start digging into like an edge here where obviously somebody has in the past, because it's got a little marring on it. You're prying on stuff. Then you got a third one right here. Get behind it and rock it out. Disconnect your light. Twist lock. There's your panel out. Now you can see more of what lies underneath, because we will have some harnesses we have to disconnect, which we'll get to. Is going to be right up here. Your dash may be different, but first you usually want to get the peg off. Just try to get behind it and work it off. And eventually it pops. And then you just want to disconnect it, which you can't see on the camera because there's no room to work in here. Oh my gosh. There we go. So you can see on top there's a connector. All you're doing is pressing that down to get that tang past it. So no big deal. So once you have that disconnected, remember all you're doing is removing the harness wiring that connects to the dashboard. You don't have to disconnect everything in sight, just things that would be in the way and that would go with the dashboard. So I can tell you, for instance, this bundle of wire here, you have a light bulb, an antenna connector, you have a black connector right there, you have a gray one here. 2006 models are a little different, some of the connector differences, but it's really just looking at what's connected to what here. And I just know from habit there's that, as well as that 8mm fastener. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Alright, let's go ahead and remove this top 8mm, which is just a grounding wire. So let's try this again here. So this is the harness that comes off the dashboard, and if you look at it closely, you'll notice here the wires run down and there's two grounding wires there, and then back behind here there are some wiring harnesses we need to disconnect from there. So this part is easy here. Just literally take your ratchet, and hopefully you are a bit better prepared than I am. I unfortunately have misplaced my 1/4 inch drive ratchet impact driver. Not sure where it went. I'll find it one of these days and it'll be better. But in the interim, we'll just use these manual tools. Not sure how you would be able to survive. It's a tough job. So we'll take this one off here. It's just 8mm. Nothing exciting, nothing interesting, but required if you want to take the dashboard out. We'll be back. Alright, we'll see how long this lasts here. But these connectors here are pretty easy to deal with. You can walk them right off their mount, because the clip is just too much of a pain to get off. But it will eventually pop its way off. Perseverance. As long as you don't skin your fingers in the process. There's one. get this other one here. And if the clip doesn't hold up or clip stays in the car, you can get it later. So now that you have them off, these are pretty easy to deal with here, in my opinion. What you end up doing, you'll notice here you have a little tab right there, a little tab right there. You squeeze the tabs in. This is a two-handed process. You'll have to hang on. When I squeeze those tabs in, it unlocks this lever, which allows you to pop this off. And then you pull the push on the two tabs again, and eventually it'll pop loose. But since these have usually been together since the car was built, it can sometimes take a bit more force than you would be expecting. But it will give way. Watch your fingers. Voila, there we go. We got that one done. One more. This one does not have a squeeze tab to deal with, just a release lever. Rotate. Push that down, which on this one here, there's a little tab that you just push down on right there. Move the lever over like so. There you go. Your connector is apart. So now, everything on the dash here has been separated. And yeah, that takes care of that. So, what do we have to do next? The wiring is off, at least. Your ground straps are off. So now you just want to do a last minute check underneath and see what else may be remaining. So we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so to take the dash out, now that you have all the extraneous stuff off, you have two 8mm bolts there to remove. Top two have ground straps. You already saw to remove those. There's a 15mm nut there. There's a 15mm nut, or excuse me, a bolt up in there. It's gone now. Usually the nut stays, it comes off. Sometimes the threads, which is the stud, come off with it, but you have those. Up top you have 7mm, and then down the dashboard over there you have a 7mm, and you then have a 10mm you can kind of see hanging out there, and then another 7mm at the end. Besides those two, you also have a 10mm nut, which is right there. And finally, up behind the dash, which you're not going to be able to see it unless I take the dash box down. There's a, you can see there's a hole with a slot there. The clip has gone backwards. There's also a 10mm bolt there. And after that, there's really not much else, because all that remains over here is an airbag connector, which has a little tab on the top right there to remove, and 4 of the 13mm nuts, which remove a brace, which I set right there. So you take those off, pop it aside, and that's it. As long as you got your harnesses unplugged on each side and the bolts along the top and around removed, this dash can come right out. Do not forget to disconnect your shifter cable from the dash bracketry. Mine is off, but don't forget it. Do not forget it. And that's it. Okay, let's begin the task of taking out all the ducting. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to have a great time. I'm going to enjoy it so much. Alright, let's get this out. So to begin, we got to get the defrost grill out. To get the defrost grill out, we have some 7s. These are going to fall. I don't really care that much. This, which of course, that's a different size. Thank you, Ford Motor Company. Take this out here. I should be able to walk this out. Set that aside. Looks like now we just have those 2 8s. Swap it out. I'm just using an extended reach, an extension, just so it's easier to get into the areas there. These 2 screws right here, these self-tapping ones, go into the housing of this defrost. We this one here. Oh yeah, this is the one where the harness is in the way. I forgot about that. We'll go over here and get this one. This one. Walk that out. That. Go. So there's one that's right down here under the passenger side, and then there's one just next to the instrument cluster. Will drop to the ground. Not too worried about that. Yeah, there we go. So, this is all loose and ready to move, but we have this bracket here in the way, which is held down with, I believe, a 10. This 11, yes, progress. Take this bracket out. Okay, put that aside. Now we have some flex. Oh, what the heck was that? Oh, it was a caterpillar. Oh. Spooked me. Now, to get this out, you get the full ensemble of sounds here today. You get police as well as motorcycles, cars, music, so full ensemble. There it goes. So there is the ducting, and there's the 3 fasteners you couldn't get to because, of course, they're in place. Here, here, and here. So now, go ahead and take those out with the actual correct size socket. don't know what I was thinking. That middle one holds things together. It does. Has no relation. We have that out. And now, set that aside. And now we have access to what I would think would be your blend door actuators, but you would be wrong because you have another part to take apart. Oh good, now we have automobile horns going off. You'd think I'd live in the country, but in the city, I am very much in the country. Alright. Two that hold this together. Goes apart. Now, set that aside. And now you have access. See, that was easy. No big deal. So let's do this one on the side here first. Breaking the rule, don't use power tools. Alright. So, take out that one. So you can see here, there's a flap that controls with that. So we'll get the replacement here. So here's our replacement. And there's our old one. Bye. You'll want to know the part number for that one. There it is. Let's go ahead and put this back into its home. Make sure I also get this mounted properly too. These camera angles are going to be award-winning. That's a motorcycle this time. Gosh. Come on, man. Do I have it? Yes, I got it. Okay, very good. So now I have to put these fasteners back in that you can't see what the heck's going on. So put these back in. This back in. That one back in the corner. We'll put this on warp speed. And considering the low torque this has, plus the huge extension, this thing's not doing any stripping of anything. So, got the new one in right there. Let's do the other side, get rid of this one. That aside. Obviously these things are made by different suppliers. Here's the part number right there. Bye. And here's the old one. Relative, new, pointed differently. But the same. Make sure we throw the one that says 3W on it, since that's the one I don't want. Bye. let's put this one back into its home. Okay, so here's the arm that you want to connect to down here. So make sure that is lined up in its slot. Put this one into its home there. Grab some taps. Nice tapping, self-tapping screws. Line this up. Line the third one up. Good. 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 So, now we have this all set back up. And for my reference, so, from my notes, because I never remember this offhand, the dash is mounted up something like this in the car, with this being the front of the dash, this being the back. The motor, which I'm pointing at right here, out of frame, this would be the driver's side. And on the driver's side, this is for the defrost versus the dash, meaning the panel direction of airflow. And this one controls the floor on the right side or passenger side. So there you go. Let's go ahead and put this back together. I would say it's not that difficult to do this job. I wouldn't say it's difficult, just you have to be cognizant about where you're using the right fasteners. Making sure, there we go, you get them started the right way. You strip it, that's it. Set. Okay, so we have those two now back into their home, and ducting here needs to go on top, which if you follow the alignment pegs, you'll see exactly where it goes. Maybe I should take my own advice. Eventually I'll get the direction going correctly. There we go. There we go. There. There. So now, this all looks pretty much ready to go back in, because the two fastener J-clips or speed nuts, you see like those, are what hold it to the dash. So go ahead and sit this back into the car. So there is nothing else that's going to hold it here. Yep, that's it. You might notice sometimes the trick to doing this isn't necessarily taking everything out of the way. It's sometimes more so just loosening things. Like I didn't take this duct out of the way. I left one of the fasteners in place because that gave me the flexibility without taking it out to actually get where I wanted this duct to go. You're going to notice a lot of this foam nonsense. It's not going to hold up. It has other plans besides doing what you want it to do. So don't be surprised if you have to struggle with it. Completely understandable. Do not forget to plug these in. You will be very upset if you do not plug in. Plug the duct back in. It's back in place. We have a fastener down here. Oh, jeez. Use the right fastener. Okay, so we're going to finish putting these fasteners in. Drop them. It's always good. Yeah. There it is. Pop this back in. Done. So that one is in securely. Now I just need to bring the tube over here back in. Don't forget to put this back in over here. Alright. This one like this. This. This back in. Drop it. You can see how this is going. Those two back there. These two. Good job. This. Okay. Now, this back in here, bracket. Back on. With the 11, right? That was what I used. 11. What little time left on the clock. I don't mind doing that on. I think that is all pretty much there. I just have 3 more along the top and the defrost tube.